I've had the Fable app for exactly 3 months now and I am obsessed. It's such a cool thing to happen to the online book community. I have already joined 12 clubs and counting, and I want to talk about it. Hi, I'm Myrna, welcome back to my channel. Today's going to be a little bit different. I'm going to talk about an app, and then I'm going to talk about the book clubs in the app, and then I'm going to talk about the books of the book club depending on the specific months. I first heard of this app because it was mentioned by quite a few booktubers and booktokers I follow. That inspired me to check it out, and I thought, why not make it into a video? This is a quick run through. I've not explored everything yet. By no means is this going to be thorough. This is just my first few months on here and my experience. Let's start with some of the features that I've explored. Right when I made an account, it asked me all these questions about my reading preferences, so it caters to what I like. And it also shows you stats and diagrams if you're into that. The main draw for me was joining book clubs. You can even buy the ebook and read it on the app. There's also free classics if you want to read that with a group of people. People can leave little notes in them, sentence by sentence, or if you don't want to do that, there's a separate discussions tab, go chapter by chapter, and you can write all your thoughts down there, which was great to get insights and share your feelings as well as seeing other people's feelings. Sometimes people were asking questions, sometimes people were putting in little tidbits of information just to highlight the context in that particular chapter even more. I found myself really excited to finish a chapter so I can go and read what other people are saying. There's also a constant feed where people post their current reads or reviews and photos. I am obsessed with looking at photos of people's bookshelves and their bookmarks, seeing people's book recommendations, everything you can think of that's book related, it's there. I haven't posted anything yet. Maybe this video will be the first thing I post, so if you're from Fable, say hi in the comments. The most life-changing feature that this app has for me personally is the reading streaks. Every time I see the little notification, I think I'll read a page or two just to keep that streak going, and it has worked so far. I've read almost every day for the past 2 months. Regarding the streaks, did I lie? Did I lie? On a couple of days, yes, but I couldn't lie to myself. The next day I made time to actually sit down and read just to get rid of that guilt. I mean, just look at these stats. My latest streak is going strong. Thank you for asking. Another really cute feature that I haven't seen anywhere else is the little paragraph they give you to describe your reading style. As I added more and more books, mine kept changing. It still fit me every single time. So the first one I got was Eclectic Soul Seeker. Your tastes span haunted pages and artful musings, cliffhangers, love hexes, and paranormal courtships to daily rituals in Japan. Ever oscillating between the profound and the heart-pounding, you're a genre-bending enigma, impossible to predict, but easier to please. I mean, I love anything that tells me about myself. You can even build your shelves by swiping on the books, and you can take quizzes to see what sort of mood you're in, which for me as a highly indecisive mood reader is perfect. And then you have the different categories and new book releases. Just all around a really fun app to be a part of, designed for book lovers in mind. But not only that, midway through my first month, a television feature was introduced. So now you can binge watch and talk about some shows with your friends and other TV content creators. Maybe I'll start my own club one day. We'll see how it goes. I might name it the Flip Page Book Club, just because my outro is I'll see you on the flip page, but we'll see. Alright, now the part that everyone's been waiting for, the clubs. I decided to read a book along with a different club for each month and to incorporate the reviews into this video. True to my enigma ways, I wanted books that differed from each other as much as possible, so I started in late March with Cameron Capello's book club, Chamber of Secret Books. And the tagline is reading, crying, drinking too much coffee. Highly relatable, even though the coffee that I drink is mocha because I like the taste of chocolate. Now, I followed her on Booktok since it began. She is truly hilarious on there and one of my favorite creators. She also has a book coming out very soon, which I'm excited to read. March's book club pick was none other than Bride. I thought it was about time I picked up my first Hazelwood book. Going by the absolute surprise, the stir that this was causing on the internet at the time, I thought it would be perfect to read along with a book club with other people, or at least lurk and see other people's comments and reactions. This book follows Misery Luck, a vampire bride from a prominent family who has previously been the human collateral. Basically, they swap kids so there's less incentive to start another war between the species. Because of that, she is seen as an outcast and has been living amongst the humans. And now, for new reasons, she becomes the collateral once again, but this time to the dangerous, new and powerful alpha, Lowmoreland. Let the names of characters be fun. Again, safe to say I've never ventured into alpha territory. Like, my rankings of mythical beings is angels slash Nephilim, followed closely behind by vampires, and then all the way down here is werewolves. Like, I'm sorry. Basically everything else and then werewolves. Right from the first chapter, you get that strong voice, strong personality. She's a twin and she was chosen to be collateral instead of her twin brother Owen, which for some unknown reason I imagined to be Owen Wilson, probably because that is the only Owen I know. I genuinely contemplated sharing that in the Fable discussion groups, but I resisted the urge. He would also talk like Owen Wilson, by the way. So a huge thing for me was the thing that made vampires supernatural are just myths in this world. So they don't have powers, they can't transform like the wares can, they can't fly. But here it's a genetic mutation instead. So this was the stemification of vampire lore, which is fair, but I did want to learn more about it, especially because so much has happened to the world for them to be where they are now. It would have been interesting to see how that originated, like when the first vampires first came out, how the first werewolves were created, were the humans there, all that history that was there. And also the character's own background. We get some tidbits on her childhood. I would have loved to see the friendship between the two women more, because we barely get to see the character that maybe is going to be the lead of the next book, I think. I was so on board when she found his drawing of her. That was a fanfic trope that I knew about previously. One character draws the other in secret. That was really cute. And of course, the apologize to my wife. I would have loved to see more of these cute little moments. I wanted to see them goof off more together. I really enjoyed all the tension that was built up between them in the beginning. That was well built, but the culmination of that, not so much, just not my thing. Everyone has different things. There were a few things I was better off not knowing about. It was such a quick and easy read that I finished it in one sitting. It was fairly fast paced, medium stakes, had all the romance building blocks, a heroine who has a false belief, the hero burdened with leadership. The characters were easy to like, and as a couple they were compelling to read about. Both have similar values and worldviews while also working to expand each other's, while also helping each other grow. I'm so wary of the words that I use now, while also helping each other learn about the world outside of what they've previously known. If you like paranormal romance with an emphasis on the romance, then I think you'll enjoy this one. I guess you can say he really lowered her misery. Next, I did a bit of a 180 regarding the genres, and I joined Janani's Boundless book club, celebrating marginalized voices one book at a time. She also has a publishing imprint now, I believe, and I'm so excited to read the books that are going to be published with that. Of course, everyone knows her from Booktube, and I've been subscribed for quite a while. She has also given great recommendations in the past, and I'm always on the lookout to read more widely. The book that was chosen for April was Severance by Ling. It was a journey. I can't believe I had not heard of it prior to joining this book club. Our main character in this is Candace. She's lived in New York for a lot of her adult life, but she's stagnant, going through every day with this intense devotion to the same routine while dealing with a lot of sadness and grief in her life. It is set before and after a non-threatening zombie apocalypse has taken over the world as we know it. Here they're referred to as fevered. It began because of a fungal infection and quickly becomes a pandemic, despite the book being published all the way back in 2018. Eerily relevant and reminiscent of recent times. Like, there is a clairvoyance to this. The details, it's terrifying. The fevered creeped me out. Again, zombie-like, but technically not zombies. That's just how I thought about them in my head. They don't realize they're fevered. They lose consciousness and any tether to the real world. But what they don't lose is their routine. So they act out the same actions they did before they were fevered again and again. Things like setting the table and having dinner over and over, saying the semblance of grace, where it was said to be only mumblings following the same rhythm and cadence. Stuck in this terrifying mundanity of existence. A unique and modernized take on than these zombified creatures. A quote that I wrote down was, "They were recognizing their residual humanity." It makes you really think about the connection between our routines, our work, and what makes us human. This scene that I mentioned before is definitely one that will stick with me as a reader. There are moments in this book that are so hauntingly simple and yet so well done. So Candace is one of the few people immune, and after staying in New York for as long as she can, she finally decides to leave. She miraculously comes across a group of survivors, and that's where our story starts. A lot of the absurdity in our own world is explored, especially image versus substance. Has a few different timelines to her life before, during the fever, her first few years in New York. The way it jumped back and forth kept me so engaged as a reader. There wasn't a timeline where you weren't discovering more and more about this character and about the world. The author also talks about how the past is a black hole, and nostalgia, even for things experienced as secondhand memories, is a huge theme in this book, as is time, of course. The concept of past and present itself was flattened, going backwards through the layers of a character's life. You meet her in a certain era and you go back to see how she got there. It was engaging and paced very well. The parts that were reminiscing the past genuinely made me emotional. You cannot understand the future without coming to terms or at least knowing the past. Every puzzle piece felt perfectly put into place to create this very complex character. The stakes in the current timeline were always getting higher and higher, but it was so consistently subtle that you were left feeling just as unbalanced and unsettled as the lead. I really enjoyed reading about the lead. Candace felt so real, especially the part where she was watching travel shows of the place that she was born. That was again such a subtle moment, perfectly crafted to hold a huge impact and insight on being a first generation immigrant and the alienation that can sometimes hold, whether it's from yourself, from your identity, or from the world. Again, the pacing was so well done. You get this really intense cliffhanger or an introspective observation, and then it would jump forward in time. It kept you reading because information was revealed at the perfect time. Severance also holds so many different meanings, whether it was severance pay, context of work, or severance, which means ending a connection or relationship. I loved the ending. A perfect balance of the sliver of hope, but overall keeping that sense of overwhelming dread. It just tied everything together. It's what I think the author was trying to convey throughout the book. This book had a lot to say on contemporary life. The dissatisfaction of how we have all collectively chosen to live in this unfulfilling general way that we do. The world and every single character was crafted so brilliantly. Everything had a purpose, a reason. I'm so glad I read this. Definitely 5 stars. I think this would be a perfect recommendation. Finally, for May, I was reading along with Emmy's book club called the World Tour Book Club. Such a brilliant idea for a book club, each month picking up a book from a different country. We all know Emmy from Booktube, reading books, reading classics, and solving mysteries. May's book was from Japan, The Housekeeper and the Professor by Yōko Ogawa. I'm always looking to read more translated books and to expand my horizons through literature. It reminded me a little of the play/film Proof, which is also centered around an ailing mathematician and what a tragedy losing a mind can be. It follows, as the title states, the housekeeper, her son, and the professor. She becomes his housekeeper in his little residence outside his sister-in-law's house. Because of an accident, his memory only lasts for 80 minutes at a time. He's had a number of housekeepers who have quit before, but because they get along, she decides to stay. In chapter 1, there's this quote that says, "They're linked to each other by some divine scheme." Another quote that I loved was, "There were numbers before human beings, before the world itself was formed." It's a short, quick read that was incredibly well written and well translated, with so much heart, honesty, and brilliant description, writing about these universal ideas in such a small, intimate way. It's one of those stories about meeting a person that has such a huge impact on your life, bringing about this huge shift in how you see the world, and these connections that transcend time, using maths and numbers as a path to enlightenment, showing the rhythm, beauty, ambiguity and the reliance on intuition that there is in all things. Even though the maths did go over my head, and to some extent so did the sports, the poetic way in which it was depicted and the portrayal of human connection kept me engaged throughout. It did bring back some maths memories and some advanced maths nightmares. There was still something so magical about having that formula and just plugging something into a formula and all magically getting the same answer. It's like understanding a whole new language. Because the narrator was reminiscing about her time there, it felt like she was telling you the story. Reading this book with others in the group was such a wonderful experience, insightful as well. There was this crucial moment in the text where a certain equation saves the day, basically. Even though I wasn't familiar with it myself and had no idea what that meant because it was never revealed, someone posted about it and added so much vital context to the scene. This was an excellent read. I would definitely recommend. It did make me incredibly emotional, and I'm so excited for next month, which again will explore somewhere completely different in another part of the world. There you go. This has been my first 2 months and a bit on Fable, joining the book clubs of some of my favorite creators on Booktok and of course on here, Booktube. This app is a 5 stars from me. I can listen to people talk about books all day. There will definitely be more videos in the future. If you enjoyed me yapping, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And as always, I'll see you on the flip page. Pun intended.